video popped up on my feed, and I want to see what this person talks about specifically about how Zenless Zone Zero actually manipulates you. I'd be very curious to see like what this person is going to be talking about specifically. You know, I'm very curious. Let's take a look, shall we? Let's take a look, shall we?
It used to be a term of derision. A mobile game.
Let's just pull it back a little bit.
Love them or hate them, mobile games are finally at a point where they are dominating the gaming industry, both in terms of revenue generated and player retention. This has been true for some time now with games such as Clash of Clans, Candy Crush, and Pokemon Go, but only recently has it felt like the words mobile game don't really have the same meaning they once had. It used to be a term.
It's because the mobile games that we're having now, right? Like the golden, like this is basically kind of like the golden era of mobile game, right? You know, love it or hate it, right? This is the golden era of mobile games because they're basically making AAA-esque type of mobile games for free, you know? And, you know, they have some really high quality content, you know, and it's, you know, and it just kind of depends which mobile game you want to play to, like, you know, waste your time on, right? And a lot of them are really good, you know? And that's pretty much it, right? It's not like your 2D images or your little chibi sprites anymore, or like the card, you know, in the old days they had like a card waifu or so, like the waifu would be on the card itself, and that's pretty much it. Hey Pally, how you doing there, hun?
Of derision. A mobile game wasn't a real game. You could never play
Welcome.
real game on your phone, but that's not true anymore, because with the recent releases from Mihoyo, the China-based game developer, mobile games have evolved into something with more parity to console games. This studio has put together some of the most revolutionary games the mobile market has ever seen, with both Genshin Impact, which released in 2020, and Honkai Star Rail, released just last.
It is a pretty big leap, I'm not gonna lie, from our little 3D chibi characters, right, to like fully 3D characters with an open world and like vast beyond, you know, content, you know, without it like being like, you know, kind of limited, you know. And then you get updates, you know, for free basically, you know. They don't charge you for anything like that, so
last year. Both games are attempts to translate what are traditionally console experiences and adapt them into mobile-friendly, easily accessible games, and to great success. Both games have surpassed the $1 million revenue club, and Genshin has even surpassed $1 billion in revenue. Needless to say, they've got themselves a winning formula here, and that is to adapt successful console game formulas and make them easier to digest in a mobile format, while monetizing every single thing about them. And now, Mihoyo has taken it upon themselves to keep pushing their aspirations of translating traditional console experiences into mobile-friendly ones with the release of Zenless Zone Zero, the studio's attempt to translate the character action genre from games such as Devil May Cry and Bayonetta into something anyone can enjoy on the go, with a few other social sim elements sprinkled in for good measure. The game clearly takes a lot of inspiration from other games, both in terms of presentation and gameplay, but it fails to understand what makes those games so enjoyable to begin with. So
boom! Oh my god, dude. Dude, you have no idea how much I wanted to do a review or so for Zenless Zone Zero. But man, dude, man, this man is literally gonna be talking about it, and it's gonna be great. I cannot wait to hear this. Lay it on us. Please tell us explicitly why these other games, right? These other action third-person hack and slash games specifically, right? Just do it better than Zenless Zone Zero. What's the charm, you know, between these games and this game specifically, you know?
So what does Zenless Zone Zero do wrong, and can it improve? Or rather, are Mihoyo willing to improve? Well, no.
I don't know about that one, to be honest. It kind of depends. It kind of really depends who's the producer or so, the lead producer or so for Zenless Zone Zero. If they're actually going to willingly to actually change into the right direction for this game, you know?
No, I don't think they will. Zenless Zone Zero might be a success, but it's also a massive waste of potential. The game has so much going for it, but it fails to innovate on the formula Mihoyo has developed for themselves and have ended up making a product that's just a regurgitation of the elements that make their products more business than they are games. It's the same thing you've played before, but just with a different coat of paint, and probably worse. Let me explain to you why that is.
Oh, worse. Really? Damn, dude. Damn. Speak the truth, man. Speak the truth. Please lay it on us. Please tell us specifically.
Before I do that, make sure to click that like and subscribe button down below if you want to see more videos like this in the future. It also goes a long way into spreading the video and getting more eyes on gaming discussions like this one. With that out of the way, let's dive in. Zenless Zone Zero looks to the past with a lot of its inspiration, as well as to the present. The intriguing combination of genres that ZZZ poses is what ultimately brought me in. The pitch poses a very interesting hypothesis. What kind of game do you get when you combine the combat of a character action game like Devil May Cry, social sim elements and time management from Persona, and handcrafted dungeon crawling segments reminiscent of classic computer RPGs? I am a certified sucker when it comes to all of those genres, but combine them into a singular product? Now you've got my attention. But I still understood that this is a Mihoyo game, the studio behind some of the most predatory games on the market, but if they can make a game that I will want to play, then I don't mind sending a few dollars their way. I'm not immediately opposed to free-to-play games, and as long as they're monetized properly, there won't be much of an issue. This is a new game and a new IP. There's always potential for change for a studio like this. The gameplay loop of Genshin Impact fell flat on me after I realized the game required grinding for materials and currency in order to keep up with the narrative. Enemies were level gating parts of the world, and that level gating makes it difficult to engage with the game if you're not grinded like you should be. And Honkai Star Rail felt very slow as a game because it was much more focused on telling a narrative, and the combat got repetitive very quickly.
Well, it's kind of like a turn-based, JRPG, So for you kind of saying about the like the combat being repetitive or so, that's the type of genre it is. That's literally what Persona 5 is, because you showed Persona 5, Because I assume you played Persona 5. No, like mobile games are just always grindy overall. It's just how it is, That's just how gacha games are. They're just always grindy. That's just what it is specifically, I think the one thing like he kind of dislikes, I think, is what he's trying to say, right? I could be wrong or so. It's basically like, because in like specific like other gacha games, right? There's always like an autocomplete, or right? You can just go into you can just go into an area, right? Or go into a specific like event or so, and then just do the grinding in a single area, right? For materials and stuff like that, right? You don't have to go around the world to go fucking beat up hilly turtles over here, hilly turtles over there, hilly turtles over here, over there, over here, over there, right? And some of the other gacha games, right? They all have it in like one area specifically, and then once you finish it, then you can auto complete it. I can kind of, maybe he's trying to say that. I'm not too sure specifically on that, right? I do have to say that is a pretty weak beginning or so, right? Because at the end of the day, right, gacha games are pretty grindy. And I do have to say the one for Mihoyo, not the one for Mihoyo, but the one for Genshin Impact specifically, I'm like, there could have been ways for them to make it like quality of life changes, They could have had like at least like, I don't know, like how it is in like what it is in like in Withering Waves, right? Where you can just grind the materials and so for the characters, right? But I think the only thing it would be kind of nice if we just autocomplete it, It would kind of defeat the purpose of it, but it would be kind of nice, And PGR has it like that, right? When you finish it one time or so, you unlock the autocomplete, and you can just autocomplete it, Me personally, I still advocate on autocomplete, okay? If you finish it the first time, you should be allowed to autocomplete it, okay? It is a choice if you want to do it, okay? The choice is right there if you want to do it, okay? That's pretty much about it, okay? All right? Me personally, I advocate for autocomplete in these kinds of mobile games. That's just me, though. That's just me.
love JRPGs with a passion, but this one did not do it for me in the slightest. But Zenless Zone Zero could be different. Clearly, it's a game where combat is the main draw. It looks great, the characters look interesting with unique movesets and abilities, and I love the idea of a time management social sim on my phone. So sign me up, I'm hooked. Now let's see if they can keep me on the line. At first, it all seems too good to be true. The game starts with a flood of beautiful animation and hand-drawn cutscenes that really show that the art team at Mihoyo is top of their class. Really, everything about the look of the game is top tier. Clearly, all that mobile money is going to something. And after a bit of dialogue boxes, it throws you into one of the most flashy combat systems I have ever seen in the game. All of the damage numbers flying off with the
I like how he's saying like all like flashy combat, all of the numbers, colors here and there, so much shit happening on the screen, you know, monkey brain neurons activated, you know. That's I wonder if that's what he's going to talk about specifically.
flashy animations are really a sight to behold, and the game does an excellent job setting up little narrative threads to get you asking questions, like, what is a proxy? What are hollows? What's in this little box that we see these goons carrying? All little things that let the player get invested into the narrative. The player picks one of two siblings and is set on their way as they learn about the world of New Eridu, one of the last surviving cities after the world was decimated by the hollows, these supernatural pocket dimensions that convert the people inside into these otherworldly beings. We learn that with the hollows comes a new type of society, one where big corporations and the government work hand in hand to try to reconstruct the world into something that benefits the upper crust of society. But the people aren't taking that lying down. Gang violence is starting to spread, and companies are also starting to pop up to retrieve valuable treasures from inside the hollows with the help of a proxy. That's where the player character steps in. They play the role of the proxy, guiding agents of these new companies to hunt for treasures within the hollows and complete commissions to earn a living. However, the proxies, hollow divers, and government all have something different to gain from exploiting the hollows, and that's where a lot of tension comes from narrative-wise. It's a really strong setup at that. It's good sci-fi and makes a compelling case right from the start. So like, is it actually good though? Well, with everything, there is good with bad. The scope of ZZZ is definitely much smaller than what Mihoyo has developed prior. Where Genshin Impact is this massive open world inspired by Breath of the Wild, ZZZ takes a more linear, small scope approach to game design. We're not exploring these massive open worlds or even planet hopping this time around. Instead, we're staying strictly in New Eridu here. Wearing Persona on its sleeve, the areas the player can interact with are these condensed little spaces with some NPCs you can interact with and a few collectibles to find, and that's it. Clearly, these areas aren't the most important part of the game. Noted. Now, combat is a whole different story altogether. The combat is where everything about Zenless Zone Zero comes together. It's punchy, frenetic, zippy, responsive. Everything a character action game needs to feel good is here. Impactful sound design, reactive enemies, flashy animations, and some pretty good music to accompany it. And I really want to put emphasis on feel here. This is one of the better feeling character action systems I've come across, purely based on feedback given to the player. When the sound design emphasizes the character's moves in just the right way, and the way the camera shakes and zooms when you perform a perfect—
Yeah, of course. I don't hate anything specifically about it, right? It's just the other stuff that kind of like weighs it down, that makes the game feel very— it just feels like a chore to play through personally. So
parry, and it makes that berserk clang sound. Nothing hits quite like this, I will tell you that much. Combat damage is determined by an agent's level, so it does require you to invest currencies to level them up, as one would expect from—
You know what I'm doing specifically, chat? Okay, so like, you know exactly I'm not continuing the story, right? At least at this very moment, right? I just don't have time, right? I just don't have time because I'd rather spend my time playing on other things, right? So what I'm specifically doing, right? I'm only upgrading the basic attack and like the skill swapping, like the intro skill. And I think that's pretty much about it. That's all I'm swapping. That's it. That's literally is the only thing I'm leveling up in this game.
from other Mihoyo games. Characters have different roles such as support, stunner, tanks, etc. to fit the needs of the player, and they all have elemental attributes attached to the damage they deal, so ideally, you would want to bring agents that are strong against whatever element the enemy is weakest to. Combat itself is pretty straightforward. You press the regular attack button in order to build a resource meter below your health bar that lets you use a special attack. Attacking also builds up a type of style meter that when capped at 3000 lets you do an ultimate with a character of your choice. When an enemy...
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I fucking hate this ultimate. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is probably the worst ultimate animation I've like ever seen. It's probably, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's probably the most laziest one compared to all of their other past Hoyoverse games, right? This is probably the weakest one, to be honest. I'll be honest with you, look at this shit.
When capped at 3000 lets you do an ultimate with a character of your choice. When an enemy starts to throw hands,
that's it. That's literally the ultimate. That's literally the ultimate. She holds her grenade for a couple seconds and then she throws it. That's it. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you actually think that's a cool ultimate, man, dude, I don't know what I have to. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna argue with you, to be honest. I'm really not gonna argue with you. If you actually think that's a cool ultimate, hey man, you can go like vanilla ice cream as much as you want. I'm just saying.
a yellow flash will appear right before they attack, giving you ample time to either dodge or parry the attack. Dodging will activate a witch time slow-mo effect, allowing you to get a few hits in, and a parry will swap out your character to the next, negate damage, and...
You want to know something? I didn't even bother dodging in this game. I just parried everything, to be honest. So literally just throws a grenade and that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. She just holds her, she just like, the camera angle just kind of switches and then she holds her grenade. She cooks the grenade in her hand and then she throws it and that's it. That's literally her ultimate. That's it. That's her entire animation for the ultimate. Nothing different. Nothing happens. Nothing changes. That's just literally it. So.
And allow for a strong follow-up. You do all of this in an attempt to break the enemy's stagger bar in order to do massive damage. So when you break an enemy's stagger, you are given the option to tag in one of the party members to do a powerful attack that can even stagger surrounding enemies. So what you can do is hammer on one enemy to build up their stagger meter, swap to a...
So right now he's kind of glazing over it, right? He's talking about the good parts, right? This part right here is all about the good parts. I assume, you know, he's going to talk about the bad parts, I assume, in a little bit more later. So we'll see. We'll see. It's probably right here. You want to know something specifically too? So you see here. So it starts at like 11:07, roughly, like 11 minutes, right? He literally goes on for 21 minutes about the negative stuff about it. So about 10 minutes of it, and then all the good stuff is from what? From like 11 to 6. 4 minutes of good things about Zenless Zone Zero, 11 minutes, roughly about 11 minutes negative about what Zenless Zone Zero just doesn't do well. So this is going to be very interesting to see what are his takes specifically on the game itself. So
another, break their stagger, use a powerful AoE tag assist, and that will let you chain stagger breaks easily for massive damage. And each character has their own unique tag assist move. For example, for the starting party, Nicole's tag is a magnet explosion that drags in nearby enemies to where it's cast. Billy's is an AoE Death Blossom type move that damages all enemies nearby and lets you chain stagger enemies, and Envy's is a strong...
I wonder if he's gonna talk about the intro skills, right? The intro skills for tag team, right? I want to see if he talks about the negative things about it, about the animations. I want to know how close he was paying attention to this game. I'd be very curious.
Single target damage move, but can hit more than one enemy if they're grouped up close enough. You see where I'm getting at here? There's an element to strategy to combat here that relies heavily on positioning, resource management of your special, and the element
resource management, I guess, but like it's just mostly like left click, E every so often, space bar, E again, left click, space bar, E, left click, space bar. There's not really much resource management that you need to do, to be honest.
Of skill required for the player to perform combos and blocks and dodges efficiently. There's a flow here that's really addictive, and everything here complements each other so well. Combat feel in this game is polished to the cleanest shine one can possibly achieve. And now,
oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It's a pretty clean animation fight and everything, right? It's for the like those people, it's for a specific type of core group, you know, that kind of like hooks them up, right? Specifically, right? For me, unfortunately, this does not hook me that easily. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, it does not hook me that easily. It actually loses me after a while. So I'm just kind of like, ugh, you know.
for nothing, but every character has their own distinct feel in combat, and they serve different functions based on their movesets. They're all animated brilliantly, of course, and it's fun to see how
the gunner people just shoot people. The sword people do sword stuff. Yeah.
their movesets complement each other. There's an element to team building like any other Mihoyo game, but it's not super deep because move pools are—
I'm gonna be honest with you, this is probably gonna be like the biggest, this is, like, you can disagree, right? You can disagree if you're a Zenless Zone Zero fan, right? If you enjoy the game, that's fine. I'm gonna be honest with you, the gunners in this game are the most boringest fucking characters I've ever fucking played in any fucking third-person hack and slash game. I'm gonna be honest with you, the gunner people, the gunner class or so, for all gunners, they all feel the fucking same. Like, yeah, they have some variety in their animation stuff, but they all fucking shoot guns, okay? Like, you can literally hold your auto tech and shoot them from a distance if you wanted to. like seriously, like, at the end of the day, right? I'll be honest with you, like, gunners specifically, right? Like for sometimes they can be really boring or really fun to play as, you know? It just kind of really depends how you kind of handle them specifically. So, you know, but hey, you know what? It's a mobile game, you know. I'm not expecting them to pull out a sword or something to be like have dual wielding weapons, you know, have like two weapons, like like guns, and then swap into like a sword or something like that. I like how the game calls ZZZ because the combat makes me want. Hey, nice job.
limited, and
Congrats.
you are limited to only using 3 characters at a time as well. But what is here really does sparkle. This is the best a Mihoyo game has ever felt. All of the right notes are being hit here. Numbers are big, skills are flashy, the game plays fantastically.
Oh yeah, no, like, the game is just flashy overall. That's basically is what it has, you know?
Another great aspect of the game is the dungeon crawling segments, where the player has to pilot their Bang Boo Bunny proxy through a series of monitors that represent—
Dude, I don't know. What did you call this specifically?
Plays fantastically. Another great aspect of the game is the dungeon crawling segments, where the player has—
This is dungeon crawling? Well, I don't know, man. I don't know if I would call this a dungeon crawling. I'm gonna call this a snore fest, to be honest. What now? This is apparently the TV section in Zenless Zone Zero is the dungeon crawling, apparently. I don't know about that, to be honest. I feel like this is probably the most, like, weakest thing in this game, to be honest. I'll be very honest with the TV aspect of this game is probably the weakest or so. I don't know if I would call this the dungeon crawling, to be honest. If there's actually a mode, like, cause like I kind of like don't play it that much, to be honest, for Zenless Zone Zero. I just can't find motivation to play it, right? To like continue playing it specifically, right? If there actually is like a specific mode where it's just the TVs themselves, oh, you hell's no, I'm not touching that fucking mode ever. I'm not touching that mode ever. Dude, I honestly, I will never touch that mode.
Bang Boo Bunny proxy through a series of monitors that represent the hollow that they are investigating. Each monitor is a room in the dungeon that is the hollow. The player passes through monitor to monitor as they reach objectives, treasure chests, encounter enemies, and even do some light puzzle solving. Legit, this is probably the best part of the game for me. It feels the most like a game out of everything in the final package because it's a type of game mode that benefits from the brevity. These segments are short, but I think that helps the overall flow of the game, and I really
helps the flow of the game. I don't know about that one, Chief. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. A lot of people say they did not like the TVs or so in the second beta, so I think you're part of the minority or so for this part at least. So even I hate the TVs, to be honest. I think the TVs are so boring in this game. It's just so annoying. It's just padding or so to make it feel like there's content, like there's a lot of content in this game. But I don't like it personally. I honestly generally do not like it. I hate it. I hate the TVs.
really wish there were more of them because they are legit fun to play through. So, what else good is there? I hate to say it, but this is just about where the good ends for this game.
Okay. All right, chat. So, how does it help the flow of the game exactly? I don't know. Ask Testing Triangle to be honest. All right. So now he's talked about all of the good stuff about Zenless Zone Zero. But I feel like the TVs are probably the weakest thing about it. So, okay. So let's see what the negatives are. Let's take a look at it. Let's see exactly what he's going to be talking about specifically.
And hating on this game does hurt because it has so many elements that I think could work if it were given to a proper developer. And if you do enjoy the game,
ooh. If only you gave it to a proper developer, this game would have been better. Damn, man. Sure. Oh man, already kind of starting strong, aren't we? Damn, man. Don't beat Hoyoverse down. Let them breathe for a second.
all the more power to you. There's clearly enough here to last you probably 50 hours or more. And for a free game, I think that's pretty great. But for me, Zenless Zone Zero is really a disorganized, half-baked, expensive mess. It tries so hard to mix all of these genres together, but is too caught up in monetizing every single aspect of it in order to make a quick buck. And so every aspect of the game falls short. Nothing gets to shine in its own way because there's always a rub attached to it, either systemically or financially. Other games do what Zenless Zone Zero tries to do, but they do it so much better. The combat in this game really feels great, but it can't be experienced consistently.
ZZZ sucks. Hey, Sage.
Because combat encounters are too...
Man, I have to... Sage, I have to show you when we hang out again, I have to show you how I play the game. I will show you how I played this game.
Too short, and what depth there is in the system does not get to showcase itself because encounters are so limited in scale. A good character action game expands the player's movesets with new tools to let them experiment and to spice up...
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's cool, man.
The combat sandbox for a deeper experience. The combat sandbox here does not get...
Okay, so you're saying... Okay, so specifically this person saying in the video, right? The combat itself, right, for you to do the fighting is so minimal, but then you were just saying that the TVs help the flow of the game. So then you're just kind of contradicting yourself that it does not help the flow of the game because you want more combat. So... that means they should get rid of the TVs or lessen the TV system and just do the combat itself, you know?
Deeper, it just gets wider. Characters don't get new moves, they only get buffed. I appreciate that characters are all animated uniquely and serve different functions in combat, but the options they provide don't do anything substantial enough to alter the combat sandbox in any way. For a good example, let's use Devil May Cry 5. Here, the player has access to 4 different movesets, all represented by their own character with Nero, V, Dante, and Virgil. And each character has their own upgrade trees that expand their combo potential. Each
Yep.
combat encounter is designed in a way that lets the players express their playstyle in whatever way they want because of how many skills are available to use for each character. There is so much depth that each character can provide on their own, and it allows the player to find the style they like the most. Even games like Tales of Arise and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which are more action-focused combat RPGs, allow the player to swap out skills to
I still need to play this game. I need to buy this game, to be honest, but I have to buy it when it's on when it's on sale, and then also there's no other games like around the corner. So if I'm willing to buy this game, I want to play it, but fuck, man.
best fit the situation and party composition. When I play Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, it feels like the combat has enough depth that allows me to express myself with the character I pick. Not so here. It's clear Zenless Zone Zero isn't trying to go for that, as it's much more focused on being a numbers game first, but the fact that there's nothing the player can do to expand a character's playstyle past boosting damage numbers and getting passive effects to their normal attacks is a recipe that leads to burnout really fast, which is also probably the reason why combat encounters last as long as they do, or rather, why they don't. The developers realized that there is not enough depth here for encounters to last upwards of 1 minute, because that would mean the player might realize that there isn't much there is to do other than spamming square enough times to press triangle and then press right trigger to activate your ult to end the battle. Look, I get it. It's a phone game first and foremost, but that is not an excuse to not have depth. Portability is not a free pass for basic ass gameplay. If I can play DMC5, Tales of Arise, or Grand Blue Fantasy Relink on the same platform I play Zenless Zone Zero, I would much rather play those any day of the week. The war
Yeah, of course. Those games are just better, specifically when it comes to like just the action combat specifically. Like at the end of the day, right? It is a mobile game, right? So it's catered more to mobile gamers. So they kind of have this specific like way of building the combat around mobile gaming compared to Devil May Cry, compared to Grand Blue Fantasy, where it's like, yeah, of course it's on PC, but it was originally made on mobile, to have like the one button, the second button, because like you're not gonna have, it's not like you're gonna bring a controller with you whenever you want to pop out fucking Zenless Zone Zero to do the combos and shit like that, right? Or like when it comes to specifically whatchamacallit, on PC, right? You have all these buttons specifically on the keyboard, right? You know, it's just something for like something quick, simple, because like there's a big market or so in mobile gaming up in the Eastern Asian side. So like mobile gaming is huge over there. So they just kind of want things a little bit more quick, snappy, just kind of get it over with. Like I get it, but at the same time, right? The only reason why I criticize this game specifically, right, is because like you're making, because these gacha games are not your typical normal gacha games anymore, right? We're kind of past to the point that they're like kind of like all in the realms of like AAA-esque kind of type of gacha games, right? And your time is precious now these days, right? Because of all the gacha games that are coming out and all the other games that you might play on the side, right, on your PC or your console or whatever, right? So you kind of have to choose which gacha game you want to delve into and which one is the more, bang for your time, basically. Not bang for your buck because you're not paying for anything. It's bang for your time. Which one has more better investment compared to some other gacha games. And I've played Genshin Impact. I've played Honkai Star Rail. I've played PGR. I've played Withering Waves. I played Zenless Zone Zero. In my personal opinion, I think I put Zenless Zone Zero pretty bottom tier at the moment, unless you like the combat, and that's about it, that's fine, that's okay, but for me specifically, I think I'd rather go play Genshin Impact than play Zenless Zone Zero. At least I have to use more than 2 buttons, at least, I'm just saying. And it isn't holding my hand to swap a different character, I have to manually do it.
World of New Eridu has a lot of potential both in terms of characters that inhabit it, their retro future aesthetic, and how the story uses the world. It's just a shame that the developers don't really do much with the world itself. While the setup for the World of New Eridu is great, the writers don't do much with the concept. It's not really concerned with tackling tricky subjects such as misplacement of the homeless and corporate takeovers, and wants to remain as unproblematic as possible. It acknowledges that they exist while at the same time saying nothing insightful about those topics other than, "That's not good, we should fix that." The World of New Eridu is just a pretty coat of paint to sell an aesthetic, a vibe, a pandering type of vibe, really. One that tries to say, "Look at this, you remember this, right? Videotapes, CRTs, remember? So retro," without saying anything meaningful about it. The playable world feels so empty, and I think that has a lot to do with how small they are. There's very little meaningful interaction to be had in the world other than doing busy work to hit your dailies. Like, take a picture of a cat or go get a coffee. The game forces you to interact with it instead of encouraging the player to take any initiative and explore it on their own, because there's nothing to see outside of scripted interactions with overly long story beats. And the characters are, well, I hesitate to even call them that. When characters in media are discussed, they are often followed by conversations of how they behave, what their actions mean, their beliefs, their motivations, their goals, basically things that make them relatable. Characters in Zenless Zone Zero don't really offer anything of the sort. Characters in gacha games have to be quick glances. The player needs to know everything about a character through one look, their attitude, how they present themselves via their clothing, hairstyle, their posture, all vital tools both in character design and character narrative. Selling characters is hard because characters have nuance. Gacha characters, however, are designed to be appealing first and characters second, and that's really on full display here. I really like the look of Billy Kid here in this game. He's an energetic cyborg with a Wild West thing going on. His voice actor is fantastic and does a great job doing his best Ryan Reynolds Deadpool impression. In cutscene, he chews on the scenery and is animated a lot like a Looney Tunes character, and it's great fun watching every time he's on screen. But outside of him doing quotes from an in-universe Power Rangers knockoff, there is nothing to his character. Nothing is expanded upon, and that's the case for every character. Each character has one personality trait that is blown up to 11, and that's the limit. And when that happens,
Yeah, that's very true. That's like 100% very true, to be honest. Like Billy is pretty cool, right? Billy himself is a pretty cool character specifically, right? But like, there's not really like, at least from like what I've played specifically, there's not like really much depth on anything else. It's just kind of like, oh, he's kind of like the goofball. That's pretty much it. We don't get to know these characters.
happens, all the other characters don't have a chance to be heard. Let's take a look at a game that Zenless Zone Zero takes most of its inspiration from, Persona 5. The Persona series really took off with this entry, and for good reason. It combines a social sim where you interact with characters written with nuance and depth, and combines it with a turn-based dungeon crawler. Style seeps from every opening the game has, but it also knows that style isn't everything. Characters are what make the Persona games what they are. They are character-driven narratives at the forefront. We see these characters go through turmoil and express themselves at many opportunities, and by embracing their other selves and their troubles, they gain strength to confront the things that weigh down on them, and that human element is what makes them relatable. I love all of the characters in the Persona games because they feel like real people with real problems. I'm not saying that the writing is perfect by any means, but at least the writers go out of their way to give these characters nuance because they understand that you'll be interacting with them in multiple ways, like combat or social links. And in order for me to care about your characters, I need them to be relatable. It's difficult to relate to a character that doesn't do much other than spout one-liners. And all characters in Zenless Zone Zero are flanderized versions of a trope you already know. Billy is the comic relief that tries too hard to be cool. Envy is the Ray-type doll character who never raises her voice or shows concern. And Nicole is the charming femme fatale that always runs away from her bills because she has sex appeal that she can swang around. You've seen all of this before. Everything is just too cool for you because Zenless Zone Zero is all about being cool. That's the vibe. Don't get it twisted. Zenless Zone Zero is cool. One look is all you need to tell that yes, this game has enough style to serve a whole buffet. But when cool is the only thing being served, you start to get tired of it. Variety is the spice of life, as they say, and that
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It does get tiring after a while, specifically for some of the characters, right? Like some of the new characters that are coming out specifically, right? Which is what is it? The most recent one was the cop girl or so with the big ass or so. And now I think I saw like a video. I think I saw like a video or so or something like that, but not like really. I think I saw like one screenshot or so of it about the rat girl or so. I think she's a rat or so. I'm not too sure. Um, who has even a bigger badonk or so, but then like they're like basically animating it to the extreme or so with some of these characters.
That apply
To make him either like sexy or cool or whatnot. It kind of pretty much fits in that category, right? You got your like sexy characters, right, and then you got your cool characters.
to writing as well. But you can't have characters being relatable because that's not cool. You can sell cool. Not one character showed up in my time of playing that I could connect to, and a lot of this has to do with how poor the writing is in the game in general. Dialogue has a major brevity issue. There is a constant need to tell the player everything and not show, and it really kills all momentum the game.
Yeah, that's a lot of that's like a normal trending thing or so with the Mihoyo games, right? They just kind of like tell you, they don't show you, you know. It's a lot of it. Like a lot of the Hoyoverse games has that specific thing in it, so it would be kind of nice if they would just like kind of show us, for something, for different, change up the formula.
Game like this would have. I don't want to be sitting here getting needlessly exposited to. I want to be doing the combat and doing the TV dungeon crawling. It would help if the dialogue was good. It really isn't. It's needlessly verbose, and more often than not, it does not get to the point to keep
I don't even know
pacing
who that
up.
is.
Every time I feel like a dialogue could end, it goes on for another 6 text boxes that don't offer any new information. Characters don't grow in these extra text boxes. They're just needless padding. Something in me says,
Dude, I don't follow celebrities.
it's this way because there's such a lack of meaning.
Literally, my life doesn't need to know about someone's life who is a celebrity. Okay, I have my own problems to deal with. I don't know any fucking celebrities. Okay, like I may know like a handful from like the olden times. What's that guy? The guy from Ace Ventura. I have no idea, to be honest. Yeah, like I said.
Meaningful gameplay to keep the player engaged outside of it. Because when the actual combat section happens, they last for about a minute max. Gotta fill game time with something, right? May as well let it be words. Because words are easy. Combat, not so much. Brevity is the soul of wit. And this game has no wit. It's words just for the sake of words. Slop that is strewn together for the sake of consumption. And at its core, that is what Zenless Zone Zero.
Hey, it's kind of funny because like I play PGR, right, and I play some of the newer updates compared to the old updates, at least, like the new stuff, right, the new stuff that PGR has shown, right. At least like during their combat like specific part, right. At least it's pretty lengthy, compared to Zenless Zone Zero. When I'm doing combat specifically, like I fight a couple people, right? They'll do like 2 waves, maybe 3 waves, right? And then I move to a next section area, right? And I go there, right? Or I have to do a puzzle real quick, because there's also a puzzle in between the section areas sometimes, right? Either turn off a fan or something, or turn the fan in a different way, because I remember this specific level for that one. That's why. Like for that specifically, and even then, right, like when they have stuff that it's not combat focused, when it comes to PGR specifically, right, um they kind of have like investigation mode. Like they have they have some kind of investigation mode specifically, where you just gotta look to this area, you gotta pick over here, scan with your little weird thing or so that they give you sometimes, and be like, oh, you need to look into this or so, or you need to look into that or so. And then just recently, as some of the newer ones, right, some of the newer updates for PGR, bro, they added literally first person shooter in PGR. I was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? I was like, what? first person PGR, man, that's crazy to be honest. So I thought that was the most craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, for seeing first person shooter PGR, you know. So Robbie Williams, a guy from Flubber, Patch Adams, and Mrs. Doubtfire. I know Flubber, that's about it. So
is slop
PGR
wants to be more than that. What's present is a poor excuse for a gameplay loop. The player will spend the majority of their time meandering around an empty hub world doing busy work in order to pump numbers into their character instead of actually using those characters in combat. Going back to Persona 5, the thing that makes it work on a fundamental level is that it perfectly balances both the social sim aspects and the combat, so neither system outstays their welcome, and both sides of the game influence the other. The social links you do in the real world affect your combat proficiency of your team in the metaverse, and the shadows you kill give money that you can spend back in the real world to get new equipment or ways to boost your social stats. Or you can even recruit shadows from combat to become your personas, which boost their corresponding arcana social links in the real world. The systems are intrinsically connected that it wouldn't work if either one was missing. It creates this addictive one more day mentality from the player that makes them want to keep playing. And Zenless Zone Zero does nothing of the sort. The dungeon diving combat gameplay and hub exploration experiences are two separate. Being rewarded with upgrade materials only works one way, and that's just the combat, but there's nothing else to do outside of it. Unless reading text boxes is a favorite pastime of yours, I suppose. Now, monetization is the one dirty word that you know very well if you've played any Mihoyo game. It's not a good word to hear, and it's not a Mihoyo game without the gacha, isn't it? Mihoyo and gacha are synonymous at this point. You can't have one without the other. But even then, the gacha in this entry feels weak by comparison to Hoyo's other entries. There are only really two things you can retrieve when doing polls this time, and those are either characters or W drives. Characters are pretty self-explanatory, but
I think you're missing the bunnies or so, the little rabbits or so that you can get or so. Like if I remember correctly, can't you also like also use money or so to buy those? Unless you can't. I don't know how that works specifically. I haven't really gone that far to unlock that, because I'm just kind of like just have the bamboos. Can you pay money for bamboos, or do you have to earn the currency for the bamboos? Like, if it's just only like two things to pay or so, that's interesting to be honest. I thought they would have at least monetized or so the bamboos as well.
W drives are equipables that can boost certain aspects of a character, like artifacts from other Mihoyo games.
No, this is not artifacts. This is your weapons. This is your weapons specifically.
A lot of this has to do with how the majority of the game rotates around the combat experience this time around. Characters are more unique both in look and how they play. They don't follow a standard skeletal framework that Genshin and Honkai do that makes all of the characters look really samey. So everyone has very unique proportions, height, size, animations, etc. There was a lot of effort into making each character really stand out from the rest. So props on that. It goes a long way into making the player want the character to begin with, because that's the main.
You know, the funny thing about it specifically, right? If I wear the same outfit as this girl right here, right? Grace Howard, right? I'll be the same height as her. I'm basically the same height as Grace Howard.
Main goal to make the player want, because what they want they will have to pull for, and that's the one standard across all of these games. The monetization systems in place are so needlessly complex that Mihoyo has taken it upon themselves to reward their player base by making the most comprehensive guides they can, so they as a company don't have to do the explaining themselves. It's really a brilliant strategy, using this established community for what is essentially free labor with the promise of free fun bucks for your account if you're voted the best. There's something just so icky about it. It all feels so dirty. The more and more I think about it, it just makes me want to take a shower. These developers are taking advantage of these players to make onboarding tools for free, because what little fun bucks they hand out, which for Mihoyo is free, they can do it whenever they want, the more likely the players they give it to will be to spend money. It's disgusting stuff. Now, mobile games have really come a long way, haven't they?
Well, it's a gacha game. What do you expect? They're in it to make money at the end of the day, you know? At the end of the day, right? You lose the gacha when you start actually playing gacha games, okay? I'm gonna be honest with you. The moment you start playing gacha games is literally the moment you actually, you actually lost. Because your time and your money gets wasted specifically. You're not really getting much of anything, and they can also easily shut down the game whenever they want to. Like, it's not like it's gonna stay there forever. There's no way these gacha games are gonna stay here forever. I'd be surprised if they actually stay here forever and ever and ever for like the next 50 years. There's no way these games are gonna stay for 50 years. It's impossible. I don't believe it whatsoever. But there will be a time, because gacha games do eventually close down, and then they do shut down, and then shoo. I'll be surprised if Zenless Zone Zero is actually still alive 50 years, 60, 80, 90 years down the line, to be honest. I'll be very surprised. I mean, there's FGO, but yeah, FGO is like fucking, it's established, like, it's already an established franchise compared to Zenless Zone Zero, where it's not an established franchise. Hey, Pokey. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. That's the difference between FGO and Zenless Zone Zero. FGO is already an established franchise. It's been there for quite a long time compared to Zenless Zone Zero, where, it's brand new off the press. None of these characters are any established characters from anywhere. Every gacha games can survive is 5 to 6 years. Yeah, the one gacha game that I've been playing or so has been around for like 8 years so far, but it's not doing very great, to be honest, because of the decision makers that they're doing. That's about it.
What used to be these little time wasters while riding the bus has turned into something unrecognizable. These products have gotten much more complex over time, but they are also much more sinister. They're not just time wasters anymore. They're basically jobs. Cleverly disguised jobs. When you play a mobile game like this, you can't really commit to anything else. Mobile studios have reached a point where their games are optimized in a way that has you tied to the game for a large chunk of your life. They're
No, because you can actually, like, what you can do specifically, right? Because this is what I did, right? I literally future-proof my Genshin Impact account, right? To the point where specifically that all of my characters, right, that I built specifically from the ground up, right, with my own 2 hands, I made them so overpowered to the point that they kill everything in the game. Like, even with the new content that they bring into the game specifically, I still obliterate, like, the enemy still. And I don't even use Bennett at the end of the day, Like, I can do the same thing for Zenless Zone Zero. Like, I can use the base characters, like, the characters that I've gotten or so. The only characters that I've gotten specifically, right? I can literally level them all up specifically and just only use those characters if I wanted to. But I'm not going to, because it's a waste of my goddamn time, and I think the game is boring, so...
incredibly deceptive products when you take a step back and observe how they treat their players. Starting them gives you mountains of rewards just for progressing through the main scenario or even doing the busy work, but those tiny rewards start to slow down and eventually dry up. You start running out of things to do, and suddenly those easy upgrades you were getting seem much more difficult, and now you're required to farm. You farm for days and days just to get that one little smidgen of power you need to do the harder content. So if you want to continue playing these games and leveling all of your characters and their items, you are all but required to invest your time into them in order to make sure you have all of the currencies required to progress. Dailies, weeklies, login rewards, battle pass, and any other in-game purchases the player makes all incentivize them to keep playing longer and longer, even if they're not enjoying the game. Currencies are obfuscated to make them more.
So, let's see. So, you have the Lido Tour. Interesting. Yeah, so you have your stamina, and then you have your fragile resin. You have your normal currency to level up the character specifically. You got the items to level up, or the talent books or so. And you got the ascension materials. You got to get the materials to upgrade the weapons. What is that? Materials to partake in gacha and upgrade of drive disc. What is that? I think that's isn't the lost crystals to upgrade artifacts or something like that? Hey Ghost, how you doing there, hun? Let's see. It's to level up character skills. You got talent books, yeah, of course. And then to crown them, of course, you have the max. You have the max thing or so. Yeah. The gacha byproduct. It's basically the currency that you earn when you start doing polls, so then you can actually go into the store. Like, to be honest, like, most of these are pretty simple, right? But like for the gacha itself specifically, right? You have like what, 3 currencies in total, right? You have the Genesis crystals, right? I'm gonna take Genshin Impact because I know Genshin Impact a little bit more. You have the Genesis crystals, right? Then the Genesis crystals, you can turn them into primo gems. And then the primo gems, you can turn them into intertwine fates or acquainted of fate. You know, one is for limited banner characters, and then one is for the standard banner characters. You know, that's pretty much it.
Complex than they need to be, gated behind activities you don't have access to until you hit a certain account level, for God's sake. And harder activities require more.
Well, that's just how it is, specifically for gacha games. Like all specific gacha games, right? You don't have access to certain like materials and certain certain ascension materials, and certain other like just materials in general, right? Because I played other gacha games specifically, right? Like they kind of gate you from it until you reach a certain level for you to be able to fight them, you know? But the grind is so irritating sometimes. I'm not really a huge fan of ZZZ personally. I think it's boring personally.
More and more energy as you go for the higher ranks of materials you need. All the currencies like money, upgrade materials, energy to do in-game actions are all tuned in a way where the player gets just enough to
Grinding in gacha games in general is just boring overall. Like even the one gacha game that I play, right? The one like little like the one little gacha game that I play that's been around for like 8 years, right? Like even me trying to grind in that game is sometimes boring. I don't even do it sometimes. You know, there's some days I just don't log in, and I'm just like, I could care less. Meh. They had a collaboration recently, right? They had a Mushoku Tensei collaboration, right? And they said, oh, if you grind, you know, if you grind the boss battle or so to get the coins or so to get the stuff in the shop or so, right? For the limited collaboration stuff specifically, like you can get these exclusive collaboration like things, right? Also, thank you for the follow as well. But like, but sometimes I just didn't care. Like, I honestly, I was like, to be honest, I just didn't want to grind it. It was just kind of lame in my personal opinion. Well, this is not my avatar, unfortunately, so I don't have my own, unfortunately. Anyways, when he started spouting stuff that was basically translated that to I hate gacha game formula, I just tuned out. Yeah, it just kind of sounds like just gacha games is just not for him. You know, that's basically what I'm getting so far.
get you to come back. Like, damn, I'm missing that 50 money to get that next character upgrade, but if I log in tomorrow, I'm guaranteed to get a lot just for logging in, so I may as well just do the dailies as well to get what I need for my other character, and shit, may as well just grind some upgrade materials while I have the energy, because if I don't spend the energy while it's capped, I'm basically losing out on potential materials. If you can't tell, I don't like this, because Zenless Zone Zero is a treadmill that never stops, just like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail before it, because when new content gets patched in, because these are live service games after all, the cycle begins anew, and it always wants you playing and playing and playing.
I don't know about that, to be honest. If you get stressed from losing mats from not using that, don't play gacha games. Yeah, just don't play gacha games, because life happens and sometimes you can't play. Yeah, but for me specifically, right? You know, I don't grind materials, right? You know, I don't grind materials every day. You know what I do specifically? I log in, I do my dailies, I go get the cup of coffee thing, right? And then I log out. That's literally all I do, chat. I literally log in, open the video cassette, open up the video store, go to the dog, go to the coffee shop, get a coffee, and then log out. That's literally all I do. I don't care if I miss a day of like materials and shit like that, because you want to know something, right? Compared to this, right? Compared to Zenless Zone Zero and compared to Genshin Impact, right? At least the materials are still gonna be there, you know, whenever I want to come back and grind it, you know? Compared to Genshin Impact, I have to wait a certain day of the week to go grind that material, you know? And I'm like, shit, I gotta wait fucking Friday or so. Or if I miss Friday, right? Because of, you know, because I get busy, you know? I'd be like, oh, fuck, man, I gotta wait until Tuesday for the fucking material now. So I have to wait a couple more extra days. Or let's just wait on Sunday where everything is unlocked, you know? And that's that, you know? Screw you, woo-wah. What do you mean, screw you, woo-wah?
Playing until it becomes part of your routine, because if you play for a long time, you're more likely to spend money on things you need. That's why there are so many different currencies. If the player runs into too many roadblocks, they'll be more likely to spend money. And when progress is roadblocks,
I don't really consider character materials specifically as in like currency. I don't really consider to be honest, I don't really consider it as currency. I only consider the money that you use to upgrade your weapons, to upgrade your characters, that's one currency. And then you have the gacha currency, you know? Like those are like the kind of like the only currencies I kind of like only think those are actual currencies. Materials themselves are just materials. You know, ascension materials and all that stuff. I guess you can say they're currencies, but you know, the only thing you do is just level up their skills or level them up and or ascend them, I should say. Ascend them specifically, right? For the characters themselves so you can upgrade the skills and whatnot, right? Or their equipment and everything. But calling them as currencies, I don't really call them as currencies themselves. I just mostly call the what I don't know what the money is in this game, to be honest. The money, the default money or so that you use to upgrade everything, you know, that's a currency. And then you have, you know, the gacha themselves. Denny's, is that what they're called? Okay. Denny's is what they're called, okay. And then you have the it's a material. Yeah, but it's money though. Like that's what you use for like upgrading the weapon, upgrading the character. It's really the same thing in Honkai Star Rail. You know, you use the dollar bucks or so to upgrade your characters, you know. It sounds like he's stating his opinion, and he isn't necessarily wrong because you do have to sink major time to progress. But some people don't mind it, and to each their own. You know, it's just like he just doesn't like gacha games. He just doesn't like the aspect of gacha games in general. He still hasn't talked about the one criticism I had about the Zenless Zone Zero game or so, and I called it out because they're lazy on that part. So it's like gathering shit in any other MMOs or the likes. Yeah, but the currencies in like MMOs, right? You can tell the difference between MMOs and materials, you know?
blocked, that ruins the routine. Can't have that. Mihoyo uses this little psychology trick to get their clutches deep into the player with sunk costs that they'll be more willing to spend money on. And really, everything becomes much, much easier if you have money. Even the strongest progression gate in history has no match for the almighty strength of the credit card. It's a similar story.
I don't know. I think I'm doing pretty much fine or so for me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe because I don't level up every single character. That's probably why. Yeah, as long as the upgrade doesn't nuke the gear, I'm fine with whatever they do. What's the criticism you had? Oh, that the intro skill, like the intro skill for the characters, right? When you swap, when you change characters, right? Specifically, the ultimates for some of the characters is literally the same as their intro skills. There actually are some characters specifically that have the same intro skill with their ultimates, and I was like, wow, that is super lazy. So yeah, that's one of the criticisms I had. So I called them lazy for that specific part because I was just like, wow, okay, so you couldn't have not given them a different like ultimate animation or a different intro skill, you know? So that's pretty much it. Billy is the one that has the biggest one, is what I criticize the most, because Billy is the most laziest one of them all that has it. It's very noticeable if you pay attention.
To all other Hoyoverse games, they do this really sinister thing where the progression doesn't really start
Take care,
to
Lord.
plateau
Take care.
until you reach 1 or 2 chapters deep. So the players are often at this point where they have invested time and effort into the story and getting to know the characters that they will want to spend money to see it to completion, because sunk cost fallacy is a bitch. Genshin, Honkai, and now Triple Z all have the same framework for progression, so you will know what to expect if you have played those other games. It's the same predatory bullshit with a different coat of paint.
No, when you swap a character, right? When you swap a character, especially Billy is the one that I call the most laziest one personally, right? When you swap Billy or so, when like he does his like intro skill, right? His assist skill, or however the fuck you want to call it, you know, because I call it an intro skill because that's what we call it in PGR, you know. he does the thing where he shoots around in an AoE or so, right? He just teleports and shoots around AoE. It's the same thing with his ultimate. He does the same thing. So that's why I call it lazy. He's the most laziest character, so I'm just saying. The most laziest ult animation and the most laziest character animation specifically for it, so I'm like, they could have gave him at least a different intro skill, at least. I don't know, in my personal opinion. I'm just saying, you know? Yeah, yeah. Because in PGR, right? Because I compare PGR to Zenless Zone Zero because they're both the same genre of the game, right? At least in PGR, they have a different intro skill, right? Or the assist skill, right? Or the assist, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? I just call it intro skill because that's what it literally is. You're doing a skill, but you're being introduced, right? You're introducing it, right? They're really cutting corners. Yeah, they cut corners specifically. There are some characters that have it like that, right? I haven't checked all the characters. I think I only checked on what is it? The white hair girl with the green outfit and Billy or so. And I think the white hair girl just has an extra slash. That's all they basically did. They kind of just gave her an extra slash on her ultimate, and that's frankly it, right? And then but in PGR, their intro skill is different and their ultimate is different. It's not the same. So, you know, that's why I called it like pretty lazy in my personal opinion. I'm like, come on, man, you can't just do that. That's a little bit lame in my personal opinion. So that's why personally I dock points or so off of that, you know. I'm like, they could have done something cool, you know.
A very shiny and very flashy coat of paint. This game had all of the shapings to be
That's why he wasn't paying attention. He didn't pay attention to the animations, while I personally was paying attention to the characters, their animations, their intro skills, their, you know, they don't have outro skills, but their intro skills and their ultimates and their E abilities. You know, I kind of paid attention to all of those specifically. So he did not talk about any of that stuff. You know, like he talked about how flashy it was, how good it feels, and all this other stuff, which is fine, right? But he didn't talk about like how like Billy specifically, right? That Billy's intro skill is the same as his ultimate. If you go play Billy and do it in a combat, right? Build up your ultimate specifically, right? And then try to like, if you pay attention when you're hot swapping to Billy, right? He does that like the shooting around, you know, in an AoE circle, right? His ultimate is the same thing. So it's just kind of like, really?
change of pace for Mihoyo in terms of monetization, but they fumbled it. So the game we have today is more of the same bullshit. I value my time and money equally. So when I see a game that asks for both in ludicrous amounts in order to be fully experienced, that's where I draw the line. But there are others who, for them, these games are seemingly all they know. In a recent report put together by the Entertainment Software Association, 31% of people playing games today in the US exclusively play mobile games. Predatory microtransaction trash is all these players know and engage with. They're so deep into the Mihoyo ecosystem that it's hard to get out from a psychological perspective. They crave that next pull because it could be the one that has one character they need to complete their collection. These loot box mechanics are inherently predatory and prey off of the player's emotions to get that next hit. You know, maybe you didn't get the thing you wanted this time, but you might in another 100 pulls, so keep trying. With each spend, you get more gameplay options, so players are always incentivized to spend more.
Yeah, but as what Tectone says, right? What Tectone really said, like I actually do approve this statement that he says. Characters do not, like, pulling on a character or just getting a character is not considered as new content, you know? Like, it's literally not considered as new content, you know? The content that they provide, right, with the events and all the other stuff, right? That's actually the content. Pulling on a character doesn't really consider it as new content, you know? Which I do have to agree with Tectone of what he said specifically on that. So that's why I'm just kind of like, you know,
and more, because with each dollar spent, that's getting closer and closer to the end game faster. Gambling is, of course, not a very good thing. I'm not a fan, but that is a topic for a whole other video altogether. With all of that in mind, Zenless Zone Zero is really a sad game. I really wanted to like it. I really did. I'm a huge fan of the look the game has, the feel of the combat. There is a lot to like there, but it's finally time to come to terms with Mihoyo's development philosophy. They don't make games that are fun. They make games that waste your time and money with the illusion of fun. The experience lacks any depth that would make even the most diehard fan of character action games return. Hitting perfect parries can only carry a game so far, and spamming one move in hour 1 to hour 40 only with a bigger number is not a sign of good game design. It's a shallow experience that is
Yeah, I do have to say, he just sounds salty. No. This part right here specifically, right? Listen to this part, right?
that would make even the most diehard fan of character action games return. Hitting perfect parries can only carry a game so far, and spamming one move in hour 1 to hour 40 only with a bigger number is not a sign of good game design.
It's really not. Like that's actually true. Like that specific line itself is just like, it's true, you know, because like for me specifically, you know, I was in the remaining, like, I played Zenless Zone Zero for 8 hours. 8 hours on stream. I played it for 8 hours on stream, okay? I played it for 8 hours on stream. The first roughly the first 2 hours I was playing it normally, how they taught me specifically, right? The mechanics and everything, right? And then the rest of the 6 hours of the game, right? I was like, okay, wait a second. I want to try something out. So all I did, right? I didn't even use WASD. I stopped using Q and I stopped using E. And I just only used spacebar and left click. And I was like, okay, all right. So nothing changed from the moment I did it, right? To the end of stream, those 6 hours specifically, right? That I was playing through the game, through the campaign and everything like that, right? Nothing really changed. So it was kind of like, the only time I ever used WASD is to move into the next area. That's it. But even then, I can also use auto attacks to get into the next area if I wanted to, you know? And that's pretty much basically it.
Shallow experience that is only held up with the flashy looks of the combat system. Now, being a mobile game doesn't mean you are immune from criticism. You want to share the marketplace with your contemporaries?
Yes, that is very true. This is the one thing I always hate about like the mobile side of things, right? Just because it's a high budget game, right? And it's a mobile game, right? It doesn't mean it does not has its criticisms, you know. It has to have its criticisms 100%. Cuz like why not, you know? Cuz like at this point, right? Your time is precious now these days, right? Because there's a lot of gacha games that are going to be coming out in the future, right? And then we got these gacha games right now at this very moment, right? So your time is going to be very limited when it comes to a lot of these, you know, a lot of these other gacha games. So it's just kind of like wondering, okay, what can we do here, you know? Like, which game do you want to spend, you know, your time in the most, you know?
That means that players and consumers will hold you to the same standard as those games. However, mobile game players have different standards from people that traditionally play console games. They have very different expectations. I think there's an argument to be made that Mihoyo is pushing the boundaries of what mobile games can be with each entry, but the way they monetize them to nickel and dime the player with endless amounts of currencies as a form of gatekeeping progression and gambling with getting the best characters they can is a hard no from me. Just because a game has hot anime mommies doesn't mean you need to spend unpredictable amounts of money to get them. Persona 5 is right there. Go play that instead. If everything I've said so far isn't indicative enough for you, this is just me saying right out that Persona 5 will satisfy most of the cravings this game provides. If you want the social sim elements without all the needlessly grindy, busy work and the great story to make it a nice, neat package, it's right there waiting for you. And as for great character action games, if you thought the action in this game was great, check out Metal Gear Rising Revengeance or Nier Automata. I promise you won't be disappointed by either of those. Or if you really want that gacha experience without being heckled to continue spending all of your money, Xenoblade 2 gives you the character pulling experience you crave without spending a dime past the initial purchase. Zenless Zone Zero, with all of the resources and money poured into it, is nothing but a pretty face with no personality to speak of. It is the master of
Ain't gonna lie though, Xenoblade, pretty goated in my personal opinion.
none. It's an exploitative piece of media that doesn't want you playing, it wants you spending. And when there are so many other games out on the market that do everything it does but better, I see no reason to play it today. I do not recommend you, or anyone for that matter.
Yeah, but the problem is you just showed your graph specifically that a lot of people play on mobile games, right? So that means because everyone has an accessible thing on their phone, right? Right? Everyone can access their phones. Everyone has a phone specifically, right? Like a lot of people just have phones specifically, right? Having a console, like even I don't have a new console. I don't even play console anymore. I have my console right here, my PS4 in front of me, but I don't really play it anymore, you know? Eventually I'll pick it up, of course, and later in the future. But like at this very moment, I don't really do that, right? And then for PC, I play my PC because, you know, I'm mostly on PC all the time because I'm doing my work and everything like that. But not a lot of people will have like PCs that can run some of these games specifically. A Nintendo Switch, I don't even have a Switch, you know? Some people just don't have a Switch. Man, I forgot that ZZZ is the best fighting game in the decade. Shut the fuck up, dubstep. But yeah, like I said, like it's just a lot of people just play mobile games. It's like I play mobile games too as well, but I also play normal games too as well. Like I play Kingdom Hearts, I play Call of Duty. You know, I just recently started picking up Call of Duty. You know, I play what else? Let's see, what are those? I have Devil May Cry that I haven't even picked up yet. You know, I have Cyberpunk, Monster Hunter. You know, I play normal other games, Armor Core. You know. Atelier Ryza, still haven't even completed, so we need to go back to it eventually, you know? I played the Bioshock games, right? I played at least one of the Borderland games. Let's see. Fucking Neptunia as well. I've played one of the Neptunia games, but I hardly remember much of it specifically, you know? It's just kind of like, you know, I just play like a lot of variety stuff. But I do enjoy gacha games every so often, you know, cuz you know, they're just fun, you know? They're just kind of fun in my personal opinion. So
play Zenless Zone Zero. If you respect your time and your wallet, there are other games that are much more deserving of your investment. So go out and play those games instead. And if you already played them, play them again. That's better than getting tied up in a predatory mobile game. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think about Zenless Zone Zero in the comment section below. Have you been playing it? Did you feel the same way about it? And while you're down there, maybe click the like and subscribe button.
that's very true, actually. That's actually, you're not wrong, because how Western studios are like the AAA scene in gaming right now is kind of like really bad at the moment, you know? It's not doing great because of the whole Sweet Baby Inc. being in touch with like almost every single game. And then Star Wars Outlaw is also is not performing very well, of course, when it comes to pre-order sales, right? Same thing for Assassin's Creed Shadows. What is it? The Suicide Squad this year that came out was pretty fucking terrible. Forspoken was also pretty terrible too, that came out. The only thing that was like really like super impactful this year was Helldivers before they had the change or so. Pal World, and Elden Ring, the Elden Ring DLC as well. So I'm trying to remember what other game off the top of my head right now specifically, but those are like the only ones that are impactful right now. I know that Black Myth Wukong is coming out, but that game hasn't came out just yet as the moment this video is has been uploaded or so. So that's the only reason why I haven't really said Black Myth Wukong, because I haven't played it. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, right? I'm surprised he didn't talk about the some of the characters had lazy animations or so for some of the characters specifically, because I showed it on stream as well, that some of the characters do have lazy animations when it comes to their ultimates and their, you know, and their thing. I think, me personally, I think Zenless Zone Zero probably has the most weakest ultimate animations compared to their other previous titles, right? What do you mean Stellar Blade? I didn't talk about Stellar Blade. if you go back and look at the ultimates, right? If you look at the ult animations for all the other characters specifically, right? It's not like comparatively like those are just better compared to Zenless Zone Zero, you know. And even then, it's just like it's just proven. It's just proven that the ultimates are just way better in their their previous title games compared to what they have now specifically. So. And what else? What else did I? What else was the TV system? I'm gonna be honest with you. The TV systems is fucking boring as hell in this game. In my personal opinion, the TV system is very like I just not a fan of the TV system in general. So yeah, and that's pretty much it too as well. Like to be honest, like overall, right? And the story was not enjoyable to be honest. The story was man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I paid like only paid attention a little bit, and I was also like I was also being super quiet too for Zenless Zone Zero because I was just kind of like nodding off or so because I was kind of getting tired or so from Zenless Zone Zero. Like legit, I was actually getting tired, and I was just kind of like, oh shit, fuck, you know. I used to play Nikkei like crazy back when it first started. Now I just do dailies and events if there's any. I've never played Nikkei. Not really my type of game personally, so. The gameplay is kind of like non-existent, so yeah, it's just kind of boring for me. So that's why I never bothered playing Nikkei. So, but yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm surprised he didn't get the chance to talk to the animations or so specifically in this midsection, right? Because I do have to say though, like I do have to say like specifically the animations so for the fighting combat for some of the characters is pretty lazy, and the biggest one that has the biggest one that has the most laziest one is this guy. He has the most laziest one. He may be the most coolest character, right? The most goofiest character, right? But he does have the most laziest ultimate animation with the intro skill animation, so which is very unfortunate to be honest, and that's pretty much about it. So, but yeah. Not a bad video, you know. I don't hate it, you know. It's just it is what it is, right? I disagree with some of the things he you know he talks about. Yeah, there's more gacha games in development. I already talked about it specifically, so. But yeah, like I said, I don't disagree with a lot of things, but I do agree with some takes here and there, right? With some of the takes that he has specifically, right? It's just me personally, like Zenless Zone Zero is just kind of like middle of the road when it comes to third person, right? So it's just kind of like, you know, meh. It's all right. You know, if you like it, that's fine, you know. But for me personally, it's average. It's a 5 out of 10 for me when it comes to Zenless Zone Zero. So, and it's supposed to be like these are your AAA-esque kind of type of mobile games, you know, your gacha games, right? Compared to all the other gacha games, right? This is your AAA kind of esque gacha game. So, to be honest, it's a pretty average one compared to the other ones. So the only thing that keeps holding it is the animations and the flashy combat. That's pretty much it, and I guess the OST too as well. But I turn off the OST and I just put Street Fighter 6 or Jet Set Radio music, and it pretty much fits the same vibe. So, but yeah, anyways. That's pretty much the end of the video. You can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy, jazzy stuff, and you guys can let me know what you guys think about Zenless Zone Zero. Do you think it manipulates you? Do you think it's boring? Do you think it's okay? Do you think I fucking love this game, you know? I will fucking die on this hill and defend my waifu, you know? But, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, right? It's just my opinion, okay? Can't get my own opinion. I haven't played ZZZ myself. I played it for like 8 hours. No, I was pretty bored, so... I enjoy ZZZ. Glad you enjoy ZZZ. I think it's boring, personally, but yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. More than woo-wah at the moment. That's the end of the video. Anyways,